take the last one.
Aisha Ismail from ENCA. Minister, you talked about short-term solutions and long-term solutions. Are you able to just tell us briefly what the short-term solutions are that were mentioned in order to revive our economy?
No, thanks. Let me start with Paul on the ESCOM. Yes, indeed, President did indicate. We didn't go into detail around the discussion on ESCOM, but the discussion that rose, for example, is issues around energy transition, what is realistic, what is not realistic. So giving feedback on the position paper, what it talks about, but more critical, I think another thing was more critical, to say even how we put the position paper, for example, reflects on state-owned entities. It's almost like saying we not talking good as the paper on state-owned entities and almost giving solutions to private sector, and therefore saying it's not only all private sector that has solutions, we must also look internally for those solutions. So that it has not been fully discussed because, remember, we'd still have to go into cabinet, but broadly on energy issues and how we can utilize renewable in terms of transition and all that. And that came from the presentation of Minister Patel as we look at sectors that we are going to try and push and are part of our imagining reindustrial policy. On the issues around informal economy, an example was made about bread, for example, to say in other countries, it's not big corporates, it's not big industries that are baking bread. You find informal economy, women, doing bread in the next street of where you stay, and you find fresh bread. And they're saying these are opportunities that you can be able to get some of the economic activities happening. So this is one of the examples that were given in the meeting to say, look at other countries, what are doing. They also made an example of Nigeria to say, if you look at the Nigerian economy, majority of the people are able to be economically active because they're operating in informal economy, and therefore there isn't a burden of the state having high unemployment rate because of people not being anywhere at all. So they're saying, as part of us looking at dealing with the unemployment rate, especially with young people, these are the opportunities that we have. Now, some of the short-term issues I share that have been raised, an example was made with water licenses, to say we need to try, for example, if you are able to shorten the period where farmers, for example, are applying for license, or those people who are looking for water license, actually is able to kick in and make huge impact in terms of our economy. The other issue that was raised, it's almost like the issue of, I'm just looking, blended financing in the agriculture sector, to say if you are looking at that and reducing the burden towards the agricultural sector, to having more in terms of relying only on the banking or formalized banking where there is a burden of repayments. Therefore, the return on investment or even what they are able to do in that sector gets reduced. Whereas when you respond with blended funding, you are able to assist to reduce the burden on the farmers, and therefore they are able to attract more people and get their farms viable and hire people. So they were saying these are things that we can be able to do. The other area was around SMMEs, to say you have so much that you're doing as government on SMME, but the problem is that it's everywhere. Can you just bring it under one roof, consolidate it, stop it being fragmented, and therefore you can see the impact on SMMEs. That's some of the issues that they were reflected. As I'm saying, it was quite critical, frank discussions, and quite good feedback to have.
When's the next meeting?
Sorry, Paul, let me take that question. Yes, sir?
Just a question of clarity. What is the term of office of this council? It linked to this administration. And the second question, the Minister of Finance has presented this paper for the National Treasury. Assuming that the council builds on the proposals that have been put forward by the minister, how is the Presidential Council, particularly Cabinet and the President, going to deal with the concerns that have been raised by some of the players, labor as well as the alliance partners?
Okay, I'll allow Kusela to deal with the term. But on the issues around what becomes, you're almost asking what becomes the role of the advisory council vis-a-vis in the input. The paper is not yet closed. Remember, we've received, as government now, we've received input. We've opened it up to receive input. Those inputs are being consolidated by Treasury. So once we have the final document, we have the council now that will help us, not only having politician or from us as government ourselves looking at the paper to say, is it responding to all the issues that needs to be responded to? But we have now the advice from the advisory council, or even the eyes and ears of the advisory council to be able to say, actually, we don't think you're on the right track, you've not incorporated the issues. So it adds more value to our work. Those who have been in the public domain to say they disagree or whatever concerns they've raised, they've had an opportunity to be able to actually input into the document, and many of them have confirmed that they've made their written submissions.
Thank you. Maybe just on the one question around the term. The Presidential Council of Economic Advisors is appointed for a 3-year term, which began on the 1st of October. I just want to make a point, I think, adding to what the Minister says, that this is not a new structure that is going to necessarily come up with policy. It is a structure that serves to advise the President as well as the rest of government in the implementation of policy that has been adopted. So it's used as a stress test to look at the issues, to look at the economic decisions that are being made, by a President and a government as a whole, and to say, how do we refine those? How do we learn from the experiences of some of the international experts that we've got on board? And then it also assists us with the disciplined and diligent execution of those by obviously serving as a basis for us monitoring and measuring our work. But I think that is it, ladies and gentlemen. And once again, let me thank you so much. Thank you, Minister, for making the time. And thank you, colleagues, for staying over and allowing us to address you. Thank you very much. The council, there's no set date in the meeting. The President has indicated that he would like it to meet quite soon. I think that the time, given the discussions that were there, the time was quite short. So we're going to have a longer meeting, which we'll announce in due course. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.